Welcome to yet another episode of Applied Salesforce. In this episode, I shall walk you through a micro project that involves custom objects, relationships, and flows. Without much ado, let's dig in. Kali, the VP at upquotient.com, a career builder, transformer, and an amplifier company, tasked you, an enterprising admin, to find a robust, easy, and a declarative way to track changes to user aliases. Ideas to track the changes to the user record, specifically when the alias field gets modified. And this, as per Kali's version, is required for auditing purposes. And upon further elicitation, it was clear that Kali wanted to log the following details. The first one that he wanted to log is the user who modified the alias. And you know, uh, you need to provide a link so that when someone clicks the link, it has to take you to the user record, the specific user who modified the alias field on the user record. And the second is date and time when this modification happened, the prior value, the new value of the alias, and finally the link to specific user record that got modified. The record that got modified, you need to have a link. The user who modified the record, you need to provide a link and other field values. And you have been a shining star until this time. Prove that you have the chops to deliver. Cool, then let's move on to the solution. And it is customary for you to analyze the requirement, explore to collate more details around the features that may be helpful to address the challenge at hand. And also, as it warrants, elicit more details from the stakeholder, but only after doing the homework. Okay, and this is one of the strategy for your phenomenal success. And after your homework, after you completed your research, you also depicted the scenario in the infographics below. Okay, so that you can engage the stakeholders in a meaningful way. And you understood that the change to the user record, you just taken a user Chirag Shibu, and the alias, the current alias is CSHIB, and that you modified. That's the old value now, and the new value is CSHIB UPQ. That's a new alias value. When this happens and when this pushed into the database, when it's saved, all Kali wanted is to log this. So the date and time when this happened, the user who effected the change, the user record that got changed, that's Shibu, Chirag Shibu, and the old value, CSHIB, and the new value. Okay, all these things have to be logged. And this is pretty similar to the field history tracking. And when you did your homework, you also understood that there is a neat and clean feature with which you would be able to achieve. But however, owing to the limitation of this feature on the user object, that the use of field history tracking is completely ruled out. The next possible, the best possible declarative option is to explore flows. And I've built that this particular solution using flows. So the first step, let me sift through the first three steps achieving this. The first is to create a custom object. I named it user changes tracker. Let me flip over. So this is a custom object, user changes tracker. Added a tab into my custom app. So all it has is, maybe I will move on to the fields. Yes, user change tracker. This is one of the custom fields, right? So date, time, the data type is date, time, obviously. And the new field, data type is text 255, old field, text 255. And this is interesting. User who effected the change. It's going to be a lookup to the user object, and again the user record, the user record that got modified. So again, you will have a lookup to the user record. Okay, so with this, the custom object and its fields are done. The next step is to create an after save record triggered flow. And most importantly, it should only fire upon change to the alias field. Okay, the workflow should only be invoked when there are changes effected on the alias field on the user record. The irrelevant changes should not invoke the flow. Okay, so that's the entry condition that we need to set. It needs to be baked in when you create the flow. And this we discussed. So we need to have a link, and upon clicking the link, it should take us to the control should navigate us to the user record who effected the change, and the second link is the record itself which got modified. Okay, so let's look at how we build the flow now. Click on new. So the idea is when the user record on which the alias got modified is saved, that is when your flow should fire. And when it fires, it should create a record on the customer object, right? Users changes, the tracking object, the custom tracking object. Record triggered flow, create. Let it load. The object is going to be user because we are monitoring the user object for the alias change. User object that's being monitored, and it's only on an update. And the entry conditions, very important, we need to set. That's because of this step. It says only fire upon change to the alias field. Okay, so for that you need to set the condition. Okay, it's the alias field on the user object. If it only change is changed, yes, it should be true. Then only fire the flow. And this is the only choice when you set the condition. And actions and related records, that's the after save scenario. Click on done. Now the next step is to create the record on the custom object. Okay, so pull the element, create record, data element, label is a log user record changes. You can save this, say on alias field modification. Okay, one record, and I use the separate resources and literal values. The object is going to be user change tracker field. Date and time, I will use the global variable to set the current date time. Then it's the new value. New value, get it from dollar record global variable, dollar record global variable. And the alias field, add field. It's going to be the old value. Again, you get it from the dollar. It's going to be the prior, record prior is the old value. Again, the alias, the old alias. Okay, so prior, you get the old versions, and the dollar record, you get the new version. Again, we have a couple of more fields to populate. This is going to be the user who effected the change. So it's the logged in user. So it's again going to be dollar user dot ID. Let's say dollar user and ID. Okay. And the exact user record, the user record that got modified, it's going to be dollar record, dollar record, and the ID, dollar record ID. Cool. So this helps us to populate the fields on the custom object, which we use to track changes. All done. Save. Let's say track user record changes. Cool. Save this. Activate, and we are good to test now. Testing time. Okay, users. I've taken the user. Let me navigate to a user, the same user. Users. Okay, let me drill down on Shibu Chirag. Users, edit the alias. So let me edit the alias from CSHIBUPQ to back to CHIRSHIB. Save. Okay, this is when you should have the values logged in the custom object. Refresh to see it if it is working, fingers crossed. Fantastic. You have that logged. You could see the old value CSHIB and the new value CHIR and you have links to the user who effected the change and the user record that got modified. Okay, so this is exactly what Kali wanted, and you achieved the requirement with Elan. Fantastic work. And thank you folks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.